Hello guys, Matt's back here again. I'm back here on my bench. I think this will be like a spot where I'll record from a lot. Just like this place near my job that I sit at, that, I realize it's good lighting, the sun doesn't get in my face too much. A lot of ants over here though, but other than that, it's pretty cool. So if you guys see me looking down, that's why. But I just wanted to make a quick video. I've been watching a lot of dating content. It seems like it's more and more people, primarily men, but there's women too, talking about just how fundamentally broken dating is, especially for average people, but for everybody really. And now there's a bee, and now there's a goddamn bee. Okay, sorry about that. I'm gonna have to cut that out. Or maybe not, I don't know. I don't like bees. I had traumatizing experiences with them. But anyway, yeah, dating is kind of broken for everyone. There's like really nobody winning. Because, okay, we know the plight of the average man and woman. And I'll get back to that. We know the plight of them. And being basically invisible in the dating market, invisible on the dating apps, ghosting, all that good stuff. But nobody ever talks about how the high value people aren't necessarily getting what they want either. Because they are burdened with options. You ever been between two really, maybe some people have never been in this position. It's one of those positions that, you think it's a good position to be in until you're in it. It's like getting rich, like how they talk about getting rich. So if you've ever been in between two really good choices in something, like you have two options, you can have both. You can't have both, but you can have either. That is a difficult spot to be in. It's not really easy, and you'll always feel like you missed out a little bit once you make your decision. This is the problem that the high value people have. Now you could say, oh, well, if he's rich enough or she's, pretty enough or whatever, she can have both and they'll both take, well, yeah, that's true. But then, you overstimulate yourself to the point where if you ever leave that situation, or once it inevitably gets boring, then you need that level of entertainment and stimulation out of the people you're dating moving forward, or you just won't ever feel comfortable again. You raise your standards for what dating is for you, and it becomes just a standard you can't even meet or maintain realistically, even though you have all these options. It's like having a bunch of options is technically great, because then you could choose one and settle down and whatever. But then you'll always be thinking, and people will always be in your ear, and society will always be in your ear, you could have did better, you could have did this and that. And as weird as it is to say, that can get to a lot of people with a lot of options. That can get to them. You know how temptation is always there in the form of like the food in our diets and stuff like that, when we want to like diet and work, and or temptation is there to maybe, watch adult content or smoke cigarettes or whatever you're trying to avoid. Imagine that, but in the form of people. You have friends of the opposite sex, and they want you so bad. So like, they catch you when you're down and try to maneuver their ways into your life, and then you think you're just coming to visit a friend, who just wants to help you out when you're down, and they try to make it a sexual thing. I've been in a position where that has bothered me tremendously. It's threatened the friendship, because it's like, you realize like I was actually coming over here because I was really thinking a lot about the deaths in my family, right? And you just tried to go in for a kiss. I don't know what kind of moment you thought this was, but I'm gonna leave. That becomes their reality. They're not seen as people anymore. They are seen as trophies. They are seen as something to show off. They are seen as a big validation trophy for someone else. Because if I am kind of insecure about my appearance and stuff, and I get with somebody that looks really good, that's something I can hold up to the world and be like, aha, I can't be ugly because look at this super conventionally attractive person I'm with. And then, like I said, you always have people in your ear telling you can do better. You always have society telling you could do better. You always have situations trying to pull you out of the situation you're in, and you constantly have to watch the person you're with to make sure they don't develop trust issues. And granted, you could say that still, regardless, as long as you don't ever cheat on this person or ever hurt this person or ever, be mean to this person, then you're fine. But let's just say it always seems to go left, doesn't it? Even when attractive people get together. It always seems to go a little left. It always does. Just the way it does when unattractive people try to make it work. So this is what I'm saying. Dating, social media, it has broken the entire dating market from top to bottom. It has destroyed the entire dating market. Absolutely annihilated it. For everyone involved. From unattractive to attractive, male, female, everybody's screwed. Everybody. And not in a funny way. Like, if you binge too many of these videos and you're also going through it at the same time, I don't know, you guys let me know. It can become, like, depressing in a very acute way. Like, it could really get you down to the point where you want to maybe cry. Because I don't know how long some of you guys have been single. I've been single a couple of years. I've had the opportunities to get in relationships with people who I didn't really find attractive, and I also, messed up some that I should have stayed in, learning my lessons and stuff, still shaking off some of the stuff from being a child and not having the ability to do stuff. Sometimes you just make the wrong decisions, you get too excited and make the wrong choice, and, I've learned my lesson from that. But it's just so sad that between social media, feminism, the parts of the patriarchy that are actually really toxic and were in control for a long time, and some women would say they're still in control now. It's just put us in a position where it's so sad, like, because meaningful relationship, meaningful connections, it's on our Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's why, like, even when you tell yourself, like, a lot of women say, oh, I'm going to stop centering men. It's this big TikTok thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to stop centering men. I'm going to stop, you got to, I don't want to be around a woman that's male-centered. I don't want to blah, 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 blah. But go through every TikTok on their page. They have to mention a man in there somewhere. Or, don't follow them around, but, just keep an ear out for their regular life. They might go off saying, okay, don't be male-centered, and the next thing you know, they come back with a TikTok out of nowhere, like, so I've been going on dates, right? And it's like, it's because it's actually something inside of us, that wants us to get with the opposite sex, or just, have these meaningful relationships in general, whatever, and procreate, or just have those meaningful relationships be what they are. And it's almost like you can't get away from it. It's one of the big things that we kind of, at least the way our bodies react to it, need. And I think through all this trauma of ghosting, because these things are traumatic when they happen to you over and over again. Just swiping, no matches. You match with somebody and then you go to, text them and they unmatch with you immediately because maybe they didn't mean to swipe on you or something. That type of stuff hurts, man. That type of stuff absolutely stings. And it's a heartbreaker. You go on a date, you think it was a good date in your mind. This person starts being weird, never texts you again, or, just starts being weird, and you go through these things so many times. Or like I said, for the attractive people, you're attractive, you have your options, you choose one, you keep getting let down because you find out that these, also seemingly attractive people are terrible, like, quality as far as, personality. So it's like, okay, that's crap. That's great. I'm attractive for nothing. I gym maxed. I minoxidil for the beard, and I, used a little sculpting thing for my jawline, and I did all this looks maxing stuff. Now I guess I'm attractive, and I'm getting treated better I'm getting treated better on the surface on the dating apps, but then I get with these girls, or I get with these people of the opposite sex, and they're like trash people on the inside. So that's a big population there too that you have to look out for if you're an attractive person. You see what I mean? Everybody's just and it's just a shame that we let it get to this point. Because now we're all locking ourselves. And I don't want to be too much of a conspiracy theorist, but I think this is all by design. I think stuff happened and people knew what could possibly happen to dating and these types of, things in society, these systems. I think people at the top knew what could possibly happen because they study human behavior. They could see these things coming from a mile away, and they press forward in the name of either profit or, whatever. But that's neither here nor there. That's not what this video is about. But we helped it get here. We put ourselves in this predicament. We put ourselves here. And now, years into this whole ridiculous dating process, if you've been through the ups and downs, the bad dates, the ghosting, the blah, 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 maybe you got somebody and you did them wrong and now you feel a sense of guilt and you don't know if you could trust yourself. That happens too. Just going through this rigmarole of trauma and traumatizing yourself, traumatizing other people, feeling bad, feeling good, then feeling bad, then feeling good, then feeling bad. Then maybe you get with somebody and you don't, for some reason, they're the best person ever on paper, but you don't like them that much. And so you break it off with them, but then you're lonely. So now you look back and it's like, am I my own worst enemy? Who cries for the bad guy? Even though you're still suffering, nobody's going to tell you like, oh, okay. Nobody's going to come and support you when you're the one who did something wrong, but you're still hurting. We go through all of this up and down, up and down, up and down for years and I saw a video earlier from a dude who basically said like, he can't do it anymore. He can't swipe anymore. He can't do it anymore. And I've been there too. And I know a lot of you guys have too, where it's just like, bro, I'm tired. I'm done. Like, it gets emotionally damaging. It starts to eat away at your psyche. You start to just feel like a piece of garbage, even if the rest of your life might be going okay, because this one important area, but this one area of your life is not going well. And I think everybody's feeling it, man, and it's so sad. And you see the ways that it manifests in the end result. I know people who went through the dating process and were so tainted by it that by the time they got into a relationship, with a terrible person, physically abusive and all that, just to not be alone anymore. They can't take it anymore. They can't take being alone anymore. They rather get, abused. This dude's cheating. This dude's doing stuff. This dude's sleeping with your best friends. You stay with him though, because, yeah, I'd rather, it's traumatizing being on these apps and dealing with dating when you're not, especially if you're not super attractive. But like I said, the attractive people, blah, 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 blah. But I know people who stick it out in these terrible situations because they're so scared to end up back alone. And it's easy for us on the outside to say, I'd rather be alone than be in a relationship with somebody, blah, 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 doing all this. I hate to say it, bro, and I know people are going to disagree with me, and I know people are going to disagree with me. It's not that simple for everybody, man. Love is stupid. Attraction, especially nowadays, forget love. Let me take love out of it. Attachment is to some people it's everything, man. To some people, if they weren't in a relationship, they might not be here anymore. You can call them whatever you want, weak. Life is not all about relationships and blah 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 blah. You were happy before yeah, that sounds good. But this person's at a point in their life where they will end it if they're not in a relationship. So what do you tell that person? Hey, to each his own. That's all you can say. And it's so sad. Like, none of this would be this way if it wasn't for certain societal cultures being drummed up in the name of unnecessary, I guess you could say, instead of eradicating a tiny area of the culture that we used to have, we nuked the whole thing. and took away the good parts of it too. There was a time where men, all that provided, where even, unattractive people were in relationships and married because people just look smashed, and women felt like, oh, well, we got to get with somebody. And, it's a lot of stuff that wasn't, that's not normal today. Like, people just feeling this need of like, well, I have to get with somebody. So, people's dropping their standards left and right. And just, getting with their looks match and then making it work for life, for survival maybe, or whatever. You could say that that's a restrictive system. Why do women have to do this, and why shouldn't men do this? And then what about the people who were LGBTQ plus in those types of environments? They had to hide in the closet, otherwise face like severe issues. And what about people who were promiscuous and didn't want to be in relationships? They didn't want that whole family structure. They were outcasted by their families for being what they were, exotic dancers and stuff, and people who just wanted these alternative lifestyles. I feel like we should have did a better job at just making the culture that we had more inclusive and more flexible than just nuking the entire thing, because now it's the wild, wild west. I don't think anybody can look around and say it's better. We did away with these restrictive systems, yes. People literally get praised for bravery for coming online and being what they naturally are. Now, whether society kind of got in their ear and made them want to be that, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm not going to go there today. Conspiracy theories. But you get online and you get praised for whatever you are. If you're something that's not normal or whatever. So that's good. That's great. Why hasn't that translated to happiness in the dating market? Why hasn't that translated to more kids, more growth in the economy, more? We became less restrictive and yet continue to lose things. Anything goes, man. It's the wild, wild west, and it should be just as easy as, hey, I like this person. I identify with this. They also identify with this. Cool. Everything else we can compromise and figure out. But things like social media play a role. Unhappy people, misery-loving company plays a role. Gullible people play a role. Predators play a role in as far as grooming, and people who have no good intentions and are down to lie to get some on a bored, lonely night, like really attractive people who would just entertain somebody they're not attracted to for a week or two because they're bored on a given night, and then just cast that person to the side after having raised that person's standards. Now you have now just like relinquished that person to a very, very grim reality as far as where their standards are now at, thanks to you, versus where they really should be looking for in their vicinity. The pond that they're really a part of. You just took them out the pond for a little bit, took some pictures with them, showed them a good time, and then threw them back in the pond, and now they think they're too good for the pond. And now they suffer because they can't get another you to pull them out of the pond again. But they also don't want to lower themselves to the rest of the animals that are in the pond with them at the time. It's just, from so many angles, it's just destroyed. And it makes me so mad and sad for my personal life, because I got to see that affect my relationship from her side and my side. I got to see where society got in my head telling me to do stupid stuff because of, a man who recently achieved some small level of status in my social group and had some women doing, wanting to do this and that, as if I was an attractive man. And I had stuff in my mind, wrong ideologies put in my mind, telling me to take advantage of it while, strike while the iron's hot, or get while the getting's good. Because, tomorrow you'll be back to just being that ugly boy. And then on the other side, when we tried to make it work after my transgressions, something came over her as far as wanting to explore as many options as possible. And basically for the first time getting involved in like dating apps and realizing like, regular relationships can be a little bit boring. And I get to go on these adventures at other people's expense. And it's great. And, endless novelty. And, suddenly what I wanted, it was, I was too late to get that from that specific person. And that's what I get. I deserve that. I'm not saying there's no pity for me, but I'm just saying this is what happens. These things, this world has just corrupted all of our minds. I say our. It's corrupted our minds. Or let's just say it's corrupted 90% of people's minds. And we can't coexist anymore. So what is the solution? We need to go back to the Stone Ages. There needs to be I hate to say it, there needs to be a hard reset of all this bad programming. We need to go back to like literally needing each other. Not just like, oh, I need somebody to come cuddle with me. I'm talking about, listen, if you stray away from the tribe too far, because maybe you were having a bad day or you're not in the mood or something like that. If you stray away from the tribe too far, you're going to get eaten. If you go too far left, you're going to get, bit by a snake. That's the only thing that'll fix this because, yeah, you could say that, okay, we don't want to bring back restrictive, social policies. True. But allowing too much autonomy, man, in this world, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. It puts me. It's conflicting because you want people to have their freedom because you don't want to. What if somebody was to come and tell me I can't do something that I like doing because it's hurting my relationship prospects or hurting my blah blah blah. First thing I want to say is I don't care. Like what? I like doing this. I like playing video games. I like doing this stuff or whatever. Blah 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 blah. I don't want to do this other stuff that you're telling me to do. I don't want to. I don't care. But then, I'll have the nerve to get upset because I'm lonely at the end of the night anyway. That's where we are. It's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too here. You either, I don't know, there's compromises that could be struck, I think, that would allow for us to be better. And if everybody gave up a little bit of their freedom and just went with the game plan of a certain type of society, I guess, we could all be a little less lonely. But will that ever happen? No. At least in our time, for sure. I think what's going to happen is people are just going to get more and more tired of people. And then AI girlfriends and boyfriends are going to become actually like good, like experienceable. Like you're going to be able to put a little thing on your head like Black Mirror and go into a world where you and that person can just exist. You put on that thing for 15 minutes, but inside, that dreamlike state with that AI person or whatever, it feels like 5 years. And you get to just live with them, do all this perfect stuff, and they just because it's in your brain, they inherently can do everything perfectly how you would like it to be. They can look like whatever, whoever, however, and it'll just be perfect. I think that's what's going to happen. I think humans are too corruptible, and we've been corrupted and torn every which way by these different corporations messing with our minds and putting stuff into the cultural zeitgeist. I think we're finished. Specifically in terms of dating. Now, I don't want to down my fellow man, but I think we're finished, man. I think we're too far gone. I don't think people want to give. I think there's mostly people, most people feel like they've given too much and they don't want to continue giving. They don't really see how that will help the situation at all. It would, but Yeah, I don't see it happening. I think we're finished. I think it's a slow burn from here, man. I think it'll get, at the very least, not to be a downer, I'm serious about this. I think it'll get much worse before it gets any better. This specific issue, dating, I think it's gonna get much, much, much worse before it gets even 1% better. And if we can pull out of that tail dive and fix everything, then great. Hopefully we live to see it. If not, man, I hope my AI girlfriend at least has like the same kind of hair texture that my ex had. You know, that'd be pretty cool. We'll see, man. I don't know. But I just wanted to get on here and share that with y'all. I know this is all jokes and laughing and stuff, but it's actually really sad, man. And it's enough to cry. It's enough to cry. Because humans, we really do crave love, a lot of us. And knowing that it's probably over, it's easy to say, but late at night in that dark room, the realization hits that it's probably over, and it's not funny. It's enough to make you want to do something drastic. I've been there. I get there often. Just try to make it through the night, man. If you guys are going through it and you need somebody to talk to, I'm a night owl. I'll be up. Drop a comment. Let me know, and we can have a discussion about this. How it's affected your life. Matter of fact, yeah, that'll be the comment thing. Let me know in the comments, I guess, guys, if you've gone through this and how it's affected your life. What I don't know what that was on me, but what is this dating situation done to you, or maybe for you? Maybe it's working out for you. What has this done in your life? Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll get into some more subjects here soon. But until then, guys, I'll see you guys on the next one. Mass out.